I've made solo victory cash cup finals loads of times, and this season is going to be the easiest season ever to not just make finals, but also make earnings. But with only 4 victory cups this season, you're not going to have many opportunities to do it. So it's super important that you know this 4-step secret formula that me, as well as every single pro player uses, as I'm going to leak all the information the pros have been hiding that you're going to need to make the solo victory cup finals. Starting off with secret formula number 1, the format. Before I go over what you should be doing to qualify, we need to break down the cup to help us understand how many points we need and how to play each game. First of all, the format is the same as last season with 65 points for a win and 1 point for a kill, with the qualifying spots staying the same with 15k on EU, top 10k on NA, and with that in mind, you probably suspect that the points to qualify will look something around 110 to 130, and it should probably stay around the same, right? But if we go back to the OG Chapter 1 season, when that came back, we actually saw the point tally slightly on the higher side because the map was smaller, which I'll get into that a bit more in a minute, but that will most likely mean lobbies will die out quicker and players will get higher kill games, resulting in a higher point tally, especially towards the higher end of the leaderboard. To back this point up, it was 30 points for a win and 1 point for a kill in the OG season, and first place in Opens got 137 points in just 5 games, and as soon as it went to the Greek mythology one, the brand new chapter, the highest points was 140 in 7. So they played an extra 2 games to get near enough the same points. So now we know how that works, I'm going to tell you exactly how to play the whole tournament from start to finish. During the tournament, you have 2 hours to play 7 games. And all you need to qualify is actually 2 wins. It is genuinely that simple. 2 wins with 0 kills in this tournament will give you 130 points, which is qualification in itself. And with only 1 point on the line for kills, it's quite clear which route you should be going down if you want the easiest chance to qualify. Now let's start from game 1. What should you be doing? When it comes to queuing into that first game, I recommend you queue into the game 10 to 15 minutes late. And you're probably thinking, but Taven, why queue in 15 minutes late when I only have 2 hours to play my games out? This doesn't seem right. Well, the actual reason why is because ideally you don't actually want to play 7 games. I mean, you can do it in 2 games. Your goal should be to try and qualify in 2 good games, and the other 5 can just be used to give you a few extra points to try and tip you over the edge. And by queuing up 15 minutes late into the cup, all the best players are finishing their first game, and you're going to queue into the lobbies with all the really bad players that have died off spawn not once. If you queue at 5-10 minutes late like most people do, all you're going to do is queue into the people that have died off spawn once, and you're still going to get a lot of good players. But you're going to be queued into the game with the people that have died 2, 3, 4 times in quick concession over and over again in a row, and these are going to be the people in your lobby giving you a super easy game that's just going to die out really quickly, which obviously makes for an easy win. This is what I've been doing for time, and I've got loads of you guys doing it, and you always comment under these videos how helpful that one tip is, just queuing in 15 minutes late, and trust me, it makes a big difference. Now, when it comes to the first game, the question I always get asked is, should I W key, should I not? Now, let's be honest, the best outcome you can get, the number 1 best outcome, is at least a 10 kill win. A 10 kill win gives you 75 points and puts you over halfway. So loads of people go out their way to try and force a 10 kill win, and then they run around in mid-game dying game after game after game. It's actually much easier to get than you'd even think. Rather than going around W keying in mid-game and just dying over and over again, instead, just look for a simple 4-5 kill win, especially if you know you're not a great fighter. Don't just go around W keying, just play for them off spawn kills. They can be fairly easy to get. If you land at a contested spot, you can get 1 to 2 easy kills, and then just play for them endgame kills, and you'll still be on track. So as long as you win a game, the kills don't necessarily matter too much, because 65 points for win is a lot of points to get. And then from there, let's say you get a 0 kill win, so 65 points. All you need then is a top 5 placement with 2 kills, and you'll get 40 points. And then all you need from there is another top 5 and you qualified. So literally, it is that simple. 2 wins or a win and 2 top 5s and you've qualified just like that. Which is why you need to make sure you're playing for that win and avoiding fights. With only 2 hours, the worst thing you can do if you want to qualify is take silly mid-game fights and just waste 10 to 15 minutes in a game just to die. So now you know how the format works and how to play in the cup. it's important for you to understand how different this season is when it comes to our secret formula number 2, and this is off spot and drop spots. This map is a lot smaller, meaning 1, there's a lot less loot, but 2, there is a lot less landing spots, meaning your chances of being contested are much higher. So picking the correct spot for you is very important, especially as we need to survive, but also get enough loot to try and win games as well. So I'm going to show you what you need to do if you're looking for a good spot. So I'm on Fortnite.gg now, which is a really good website if you're looking for any sort of drop spots. And I'm just going to go over absolutely everything you need to know when trying to find the perfect drop spot. So I've just turned chests on, and the first thing you want to do is make sure your spot has at least around about 7 chests minimum. I mean, if you're landing at a spot that's only got like 4 chests or something, then realistically you're not going to get enough loot, especially this season as well with the shield being so low. Landing somewhere like here just isn't going to be viable. It's not going to be ideal. You're not going to be able to get enough loot, and you are just going to die. Really simple. So I'm going to go over a few of my favorite drop spots just to give you guys a few ideas on different spots you could potentially land at. In regards to landing at POIs, because I know a lot of people do like to land at a POI, if you are going to land at any of them, make sure you've landed there a lot of times in rank. You need to be winning the spot like 95% of the time in ranked for it to be good enough for a tournament, because tournaments people are going to try a little bit harder, it's extra. So you need to make sure you've got a proper loot route. Let's take Retail Row for example. If I wanted to land at Retail Row in a tournament, then my best possible option would be to either pick one of the 2 sides I want to land. If you want to land house side, then have a look, see which has got the most loot in, and find yourself a really good loot route. For example, if I want to land on the factory side, then obviously this side, the factory, is going to be so much better than that side, just because that's going to have 5 chests compared to literally just 5 chests in this building alone. Just make sure you're conducting a good loot route, taking into account the fact that you're going to need to get mats. Now, some of my actual favourite spots to land at, which I will recommend to you, is number 1, the Orchard here. 17 chests at this POI is a really good solid spot. I think there'll probably be around 1 to 2 players probably landing with you, so not too many, but definitely enough so you can get yourself a few kills as well. This island at the bottom, just below where Catty is a really good spot. 32 chests, the same as Slurpee, and you're probably not going to get contested by too many people. I know there's boat spawns, there's a rift down here in the corner as well. And if you want even more of a low-key spot, again, this spot here, 8 chests, you can go in and try get all the slurp stuff as well to get your health up. Plus, you've got more chests up here. Just make sure you're staying away from spots like this spot here where you're only going to get 5 chests. It's probably not going to be ideal. Or trying to do some really weird loot route from like this house, and then you're trying to rotate all the way across the map to here and then here. It just isn't going to work out for you. Just pick yourself a really solid spot. Again, this bridge is another really good one. You can cap out your metal as well. I mean, take your time to really look into this and get creative with it. I mean, just have a look round, look at all the chests, and just try and find yourself a solid loot spot. I don't want to go over too many spots, because if I just literally put a load of spots out for you, then all it's going to do is just have them super contested. So just go through here and find something that's going to work for you and your playstyle. But that brings us on to our secret formula number 3, and that is mid-game. I touched briefly on mid-game earlier in the video and recommended you to mainly stay away from fighting in mid-game, especially if you've won your first game and you literally just need to get to endgame. But there are times where you might have to actually fight players, as maybe they've pushed you or your loot is really poor, and there's certain things you can look out for or potentially do to get yourself some free kills or extra points. And I'm going to break it up into 3 parts. First of all, being pushed. I know a lot of you struggle with this one. Poor loot and potentially looking for free kills or free points. Let's first start off with being pushed. There's sometimes in game where no matter what you do, you're going to be pushed by someone, but there's a few ways you can actually minimize that. And again, we're back on Fortnite.gg, and I just want to go over zones and how you can just minimize the risk of running into players. Now, this is kind of all sort of basic stuff, but I just want to kind of remind you how this works so you know where players are going to be. Let's say, for example, here we have this zone, and maybe you've landed at Dirty Docks, and your first zone has gone from max pull all the way over to this side of the map. What you do not want to do is wait for the storm to start closing in and then rotate. And the reason why is because a lot of people that are looting are going to rotate in late, which means this whole area here, I changed the color there to red, this whole area here is going to be a hot spot of people coming in, because Retail have got to rotate, Lazy have got to rotate, Misty have got to rotate, Slurpy has to rotate, and most people are naturally just going to gravitate to the edge of the zone where obviously the white marker is. So Frenzy's going to come into here. You're going to have the Lazy kids coming into Dog Pound here. Maybe Grotto kids coming into here, and so on and so on. You can kind of get the gist of what I mean. Each player's rotating and everyone's going to meet round about this spot here. So as soon as a fight breaks out, I don't know, maybe in this little zone here, there's going to be 4 or 5 different players that are all going to hear this and come rushing. And before you know it, you're going to find yourself in a really, really bad situation where you got loads of people fighting. Instead, if you've landed at Dirty Docks in this instance, or maybe Retail Row, make sure you get yourself a car or something and get yourself to zone early and position yourself anywhere on this backside of the zone here. Anywhere around here will be fine, because this is where most people are going to come into. I mean, obviously be a little bit careful in this corner of Craggy and stuff like that, but anywhere on these islands at the back or anywhere over here is going to be the dead side of the zone, and that's where no one's going to be. So when playing for endgame, make sure you're getting to zones early and you're getting to the dead side, the side where no one's rotating in, and you're going to massively increase your chances of getting to endgame and not getting pushed. Now you know how to minimize the chances of being pushed based off zones. What should you do if someone hits you for a big chunk of damage? Now, my recommendation is to make as many boxes as you can. The more room you have, the harder it's going to be for someone to stop you medding up. This will also boost your chances of them making a mistake as well. Now, your goal when low on HP should be to obviously get your meds off first of all, get them off as soon as you can, but play patient and play off your opponent. He has to push you in this instance, so just make sure you're playing slow and you're not forcing anything. And you're probably wondering, what do you even mean by that? But try and watch what your opponent is doing. This is what should be going through your head. When you're low HP in a box, he's going to start getting aggressive. Just try and analyze what he's doing. Try and predict his next move. Is he putting a lot of pressure on your wall? Is he trying to hop in your box? If he's trying to hop in your box, then make loads of room. Try to pre-fire him. If he's trying to take your walls, there's a chance you could maybe potentially look for an edit out to get shot off him. There's so many things you need to be thinking of, and different plays you can do to counter what he's going to do. Try and predict what he's going to do so you can be one step ahead of him. Next up is if you have poor loot. We've all been there, where you're in mid game, maybe you've had to run away from your drop spot, we have low mats. Rather than trying to force your way to end game with a grey shotgun, maybe no shield or something, and wasting 10 to 15 minutes of time only to get 6 points, try and find someone to fight. This is the one time I will recommend you fighting in mid game, because if you can't find any loot, there is no point in staying in a game with grey loot, because you're not going to do well in end game. So when looking for someone to fight, make sure you have some sort of advantage before pushing. So the main 2 advantages that are in the game is if you beam somebody for a big chunk of damage, or if you're third part in a fight. These 2 will increase your chances of winning with scuff loot massively. Don't just randomly go and push some guy who's boxed up. It's not going to end well for you. If someone's boxed up, the chances are they've got good loot anyway. They're going to play for in-game, so you're going to make your life absolutely hell. And finally, getting 3 kills or points. What I mean by this is, if you see someone and you can snipe him or you can beam them for a big chunk of damage and get some sort of obvious advantage on them, then obviously it's always worth going for that kill. But only if you hit them for 70 damage or more and you know you've got the loot to win that fight. If not, just don't bother. Don't force fights for the sake of forcing them. Make sure you've got some sort of advantage. And now we're going on to the final formula, and it is secret formula number 4. And this is how to practice. I know so many people playing scrims or playing something they shouldn't be doing when there's one thing that they should be practicing and they're doing the complete opposite. Now, what you should actually practice does depend on whether you make finals or not. If you've only made finals once or you haven't made finals before, practice fighting and fighting only. Once you become a better fighter, you will naturally qualify anyway. It will be easy for you to qualify because you'll win more end games, especially when it comes to opens. You'll obviously win more fights early on. You'll win more mid-game fights when you're getting pushed, etc. But that will result in you getting to endgame more as well. So find yourself struggling to get past opens. My main tip is to play a ton of 1v1s, box fights, solo ranked. These are where you're going to improve your fighting. Put all them three together and you will improve your fighting in the quickest time possible. But mainly prioritize your aim. If you're a good aimer in Fortnite, you can have really bad mechanics, builds or edits, and you'll still be able to win fights just down to how good your aim is. And now my main tip for that is box fights, because box fights are so good for your aim. Just practice hopping in people's boxes, getting people's faces, because you can have insane builds and edits and hit people for 40 damage and you're not going to win fights. You could have like the most average, bang average, middest builds, really bad edits. You could be one of the slowest editors in the world, but if you're going around hitting people for 180 damage, I mean, you're a lot more dangerous than the guy with the really quick builds and edits who can hardly hit any more than 70 damage. And that will make a big difference in endgame as well. Hitting someone for 180 and hitting someone for 70 is the difference between you winning and losing the game. So this is why, if you're struggling to get past opens, make sure you're playing plenty of ranked, plenty of box fights, and just working on that aim. If you're someone who regularly tends to make finals but hasn't earned yet, then the best thing for you to practice is your end games. Play as many scrims and zone wars as you can and just practice playing for the win. Learn when to go for refreshes, when to rotate. Just study each end game you play as well. It's going to help you out so much. And just remember that if you're playing opens right now and trying to qualify, once you can start getting past opens, work on your scrims, and then from there, hopefully you can get yourself some earning. Anyways, good luck in the solo victory cup. If you found any of the tips helpful, please like this video and comment down below as I'll respond to all comments.